Okie dokie. Gonna answer some viewer questions. First one comes from Light and Joy Designs. I would love more on this topic, please. I would especially love to hear more examples of the subtle beliefs. Hearing examples, perhaps with a panel of your awakened friends, would be really powerful for helping others to see their own subtle beliefs. That's a great idea. I like it. This is from a video called Investigating Beliefs. No surprise there. Good idea. Yeah, I like that. Examples of subtle beliefs. Well, one of the most subtle that you, in a sense, you can't really directly confront it early on, often because it just becomes very conceptual without stripping away some of the conceptual frameworks and some of the identity frameworks. It's very hard to get directly at this, but it's the sense of I am, meaning I am something apart from anything else, right? That's a subtle belief, actually, but it hinges upon, or actually I should say many other beliefs hinge upon that belief. But that's just one very prime example. Subtle beliefs are things like subtle, meaning you don't even see that it's a belief and you don't realize your behavior is not just automatic, it's actually hinging on a belief. So for instance, I have to react in such a situation by doing this, right? A lot of times it's like I have to defend myself, or I have to tell that person what I think, or I have to make a point, or any number of things, right? But it's things like that where it's often plays out behaviorally, but you have to really look at the behavior sometimes and see like, what do I believe about this, right? So yeah, but for the Q&A now, I'm not going to go into a ton of examples. That's not a bad idea though, about like kind of a panel on that, or having a conversation with others about beliefs, subtle beliefs. Okay, this one's from Dansmore. What is it that identifies with thought, please? Is it me? If so, what is me? Pure consciousness? And if so, does it have an identity of any kind? Is it individualized in any way? Thanks. These are really good questions. I'll say a couple things about it, but the primary answer I want to give you about this is you're asking good questions. But I don't want you to rely on any outside validation for these questions. I want you to rely only, this is critical. If you're watching this channel, you're interested in awakening. If you're interested in awakening, then I'm going to point you to it. And so it's critical that you ask these questions. I'll be a little more specific, but ask these questions and then orient only to your own deepest instinct. Not to whether Angelo would say this is true or that's true, or is this right or is that right? Those are thoughts, right? I want you to go beyond that, or closer. Go closer in to your experience. But I want you to not expect or look for or hope for validation, meaning an answer from me or from anyone else or from any doctrine, and rather realize that you actually have the capacity to find the answer yourself. Find it, not understand it, not intellectualize it, not learn it in a way you could explain it to someone else. It's nothing like that. It's more real than any of that. It's more close than any of that. It's more direct, simple, accessible to you than any of those things. In fact, you're the only one who has access to your own identity, let's say. Meaning you can't access it through me. You can't access it through an understanding. You can't access it through thoughts. All of that is just too distant, right? So you're asking great questions. I'll get more specific. What is it that identifies with thought? Great question. Use that directly. Look and see, right? Look and see. Get quiet. Quiet meaning stop. Put away distractions. Keep asking the question. Keep looking where it's pointing you, right? Don't start wondering about it. Don't start, oh, maybe it's this, maybe it's Ramana Maharishi said this and Angelo said that. And don't let your mind wander. Keep looking. Don't settle for a thought, because thoughts have gotten you nowhere. They've gotten you more thoughts, right? This is the problem with all of our experience of thoughts and the suffering that comes with it. Don't settle for that. Keep looking, right? The answer is there, I promise you. but I can't provide it. Only you can provide it. So this first one's a great question. What is it that identifies with thought? Okay. The next question, is it me? That's maybe a little more conceptual, a little more distant, but you could turn the question into something else like, what is the me that seems to be identifying with thought, to relate it to your first question? Where is it? Find it. Precisely locate it, right? If I say precisely locate your hand, you'd say right here. If I said precisely locate your nose, you'd say right here. If I said precisely locate you, where are you gonna look? You might point to your body. I'm like, no, that's your body. Like your legs, your torso. You could cut off parts of your body. Does that make you suddenly not be there? So where are you, right? You could say, well, I'm thoughts and I'm a brain and all this. I'm like, that's thought, right? For sure. You can't see your brain, right? So brain is a thought. Cognition is a thought. All that's thoughts. So without those thoughts, do you cease to exist, right? Without those labels that say brain and thinking and physiology and identity and whatever philosophical model you want to think about, without any of that, which are all thoughts, do you cease to exist? I don't know. Why don't you look, right? What's there? So what is this seeming me that's identifying with thought? Look for it. That's how I would use that second part. And then, that you kind of asked the question, what is me? Yeah, exactly. And then you asked, is it pure consciousness? I wouldn't conclude anything like that, because what is pure consciousness to you? It's another concept, right? Do you have a direct experience of pure consciousness? If you do, great. Stop right there. But if it's a concept to you, and you have to be honest with yourself about that, whether it's a concept or not, is pure consciousness a concept to you? If it is, then that's another thought. So go back to your first question. Best question so far is your first one. And if so, does it have an identity of any kind? Does consciousness have an identity? Again, it's getting kind of conceptual here. If you want to know about identity, look for it. Look for identity. What is identity? Look for it. So I want you to look closely in your experience, and don't settle for thoughts. These are great questions. These are koans if you use them properly. And then the last question, is it individualized in any way? Again, you're saying like, oh, is identity separate, right? Is it individualized, means separate from other individualized identities or something? I don't want to give you a conceptual answer, and it wouldn't matter. It's not going to wake you up. So I wouldn't worry so much about this last question. I would stay away from concepts. Start with where I pointed you with the first question, and trust yourself that you do have the answer. It's not going to be a thought answer though. Okay? Great questions. Thanks for asking. This one comes from John Kemmerer. Kemmerer, probably. We are animals with the capacity or capability of beliefs. Yes, beliefs are literally false. Belief systems were created for comfort and ultimately. Yeah, I mean, I agree with the last part. And beliefs are literally false. I would say beliefs have no truth value, ultimately. They're not true or false. So to say beliefs are false is kind of adding another belief or trying to reverse beliefs or something. I would just regard them, especially when we talk about inquiry and looking into the nature of identity, I would regard them as something that doesn't have truth value, actually. By the time you believe it's false, you already believe the belief. You believe there's value in it, right? You believe there's some important truth in a belief once you believe it's false or true. So just see that, okay, it's a momentary whim of the mind. But when the belief's not there, does anything change? Right? Not really. Maybe not at all. So there you go. Cool. This was from Alistair Games. It says, oh, seeking like chasing a carrot on a stick. That's right. You're holding your own stick, and on the end of that stick is a carrot. And that carrot might be validation, love, awakening, enlightenment, money, power, safety, security. And you put the carrot on the end of the stick, and every step you take, believing you're chasing that carrot, moves the carrot the equal amount of distance that you just stepped away from you. How long are you going to play that game with yourself, right? That's suffering. That's dukkha. That's why we realize, oh, that's not the answer. Okay. This one comes from Holistic Human. Thanks, Angelo. This is exactly where I'm at right now, just sitting and getting really, really familiar with emotion. It's a very powerful practice. That shadow work's important. This is from the video called Exploring Beliefs When Emotions Are Intense. Thank you for your comment. Oh, this one says, I'm sorry, the rest of his comment says, sometimes a belief will show itself. Other times it's just like being on fire. It's really helpful to have the reminder to ask, where is this being believed here? I'm sorry, what is being believed here? Yeah. You can also ask where, like, where is that sense of the belief? Where is it encoded in the body map? Because you'll find it usually. I figured for a long time that if I just sat in the fire long enough, silently and still, that somehow it would resolve. Does it need to resolve in the end? Right? Well, I've been doing this for months, in fact, or perhaps a year or more, and there's still incredible intensity. I would really question the moniker intensity, the label. Not that it's going to, I'm not asking you to deny your experience. I'm asking you to see what happens when you remove the labels from your experience. Yeah. I saw yesterday that there is a belief around being alone, abandoned, a tremendous fear. Yes, everyone has that. Good. And often the belief arises that I can't take much more of this. Yes, another very powerful belief. I can't take much more of this is a very, very potent belief. It'll make you do things, right? It'll make you react. It'll make you distract. It'll make you run. It'll make you consume. Yeah. And then you see, wait, it's just a belief. How do I feel when I feel that belief? Pretty rotten. How do I feel when I don't feel that belief? Pretty neutral. Right. So this is the value of looking into beliefs, and it comes hand in hand with emotion work. So good job. So then the last one is, so I've been asking, who is alone? Who is abandoned? What are you scared of? Who is scared? Awesome. Okay, back to sitting in the fire. So this is someone who's doing very good work, powerful work. Pays off. Yeah, things will settle. Good job. This is from Christina. Hi, Angelo. Can you maybe address the topic of panic attacks with extreme body response, high blood pressure? The last days, I literally have been thinking I might die. My life fell apart, fired from work. Now I started to talk to the body and listen to it. Suppressed emotions come up. This seems the only solution. Good. The doctor looked at me a bit weird when I said, I'm not doing this. The body is doing this. Maybe you have an advice you can talk from yours or someone else's experience. I would appreciate it. I mean, I think you're doing good work here. I like the part where you said, I started to talk to the body and listen to it. Suppressed emotions come up. This seems the only solution. Yeah. Just feel what's coming up. Feel it. You can label the emotions if it helps, right? Fear, hello fear. Sadness, hello sadness, hello grief. Whatever, just simple labels to kind of clarify things. And then just notice how some of these beliefs make you feel, right? So my life is falling apart. I might die, right? These beliefs in reference to emotions, we'll just magnify them. And you have to see, do I have to have that belief with this emotion? Like sometimes when we have these beliefs pop up, we kind of identify with them like they're helpful somehow. Like this belief helps me. It puts this situation in a box. It puts the situation in a framework. But when you're really direct in sensation and emotion, it actually becomes not helpful but counterproductive because it makes it feel so fearful. So when you're stabilized in mind identification, when you're living in a world of avoidance through mental processes, then yeah, that actually does offer stability to like think about it, to put it in a box, to put it in a conceptual framework. But when you've broken through that and you're dropping down into the emotion body, it doesn't help. And it makes things worse to tell yourself, I might die, right? Or this is going to kill me, or my life is falling apart. It just amplifies the experience. And it also, it kind of underscores that push and pull we have with emotions, like with a feeling of having to pull away from it and get away from it. And then we're telling ourselves, no, I can feel it. And then we pull away again. The pulling away is like conditionally associated with these conclusions and beliefs that were, hidden and may have been there for many, many years. So yeah, you're not doing anything wrong. That's just how this goes. And so seeing everything as it is, seeing if you can feel the emotion without any added interpretation or conclusions, sometimes adding labels to the emotions just to know what they are, to clarify if there's like a lot coming, and then just really feel one at a time. Just feel into it deeply. Don't run from it, and things will take care of themselves. Good luck with your work situation though. This is from Kate Allen. Hi, Angelo. You suggest turning off music when practicing self-inquiry. You have background music in this video. Is that because the background music has some spiritual element to it that aids concentration? It seems to represent disturbance, a distraction from the silence that is the source, but I wonder if I'm missing the point of the music you use. I just put it in there because it sounds good. There is an effect that it has. So sometimes people feel triggered or like resistant to it or frustrated. So if those emotions come, that's great, right? That's just what's coming right now. Anything that comes up that's uncomfortable is really just a barrier, is a seeming barrier to clarity, but a barrier in the sense that it needs to be integrated, it needs to be felt, it needs to be accepted, and then you will move beyond to more clarity. So anything that comes as a response to anything I'm saying or the music or anything is always welcome, and that's very important. So, and it can happen when there's no music. It happens all the time. If I'm, say, in a retreat, I'm giving talks, and 30 minutes into the talk, someone will later tell me that they just had this very, very strong fear response or a trigger response or frustration or whatever, a rejection of what I'm saying. It's just the ego jumping up and saying no, right? It can say no to music. It can say no to what I'm saying. It can say no to your own emotions. It can say no to some sounds in the environment that are distracting. So the real lesson with all of this is just let all of it be exactly as it is. If your attention just merges with the sound, let it merge with the sound. See what happens when your attention merges with the music completely. Let that music overtake you. Let it drown out everything. See what happens, right? It can be very powerful. Good question. This is from J-Dub Luffy? Okay. It says, bro doesn't know I'm the king, all caps, of squandering. So the video is called, Once You Taste It, Don't Squander It. We're all the king of squandering, kings and queens of squandering. Squandering really is a self-judgment too, right? You've never squandered anything. You've never wasted anything. You've never been in the wrong place. You've never been at the wrong time. You've never failed at anything. These are just mental constructs, conclusions, judgments, made up stuff. It's a bunch of made up stuff, a bunch of stories our mind tells us that we buy into, and then we feel like we're telling the story, and then we feel like we're the victim of the story. And there's no way you can be distracted from reality. Reality's what you see, hear, feel, taste, touch, smell, and everything in consciousness right now. That's reality. You've never been 1 millimeter away from it. You can't distract yourself from it, and you can't squander anything. Thank you for your comments and questions, everyone. And we'll see you soon.